Hi everybody, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about the differences between a medical biller and coder. The reason why I'm talking about this is I believe there's a lot of confusion in the medical world unless you have directly dealt with the revenue cycle or you're a biller, coder, or someone else who deals with this kind of realm in the medical field. Providers honestly usually don't need to know much about billing and coding if you work for a large conglomerate that has a department, but if you're going to open your own practice, even if you've never had to know it before, you need to know it now. It also never hurts to understand kind of the life cycle of a claim, because maybe it will help you appreciate maybe some of your staff a little bit better or your coworkers, and it definitely will make more sense when things have to come back to you after submitted maybe at the insurance or before being submitted to the insurance if it gets rejected from the clearinghouse or gets denied at the insurance company. I do have a video about why a coder is important, but then I kind of realized I was putting the cart before the horse, and I probably should just break down the differences between a medical biller and coder. A medical biller generally has responsibilities that come after the coder does what they need to do. Usually a medical coder will get paid a little bit more than a medical biller, and sometimes, depending on the individual person's experience and knowledge base, the billing and coding might kind of overlap with one another. It also is very dependent upon your specialty and how complex your billing can be or is, and the requirements, regulations that go into the coding of your claims in order to get paid everything you deserve for your services. A coder has to be able to basically look at a chart note, documentation, and be able to help extract the proper billing CPT codes, so the procedure codes, the ICD-10 codes, which are the diagnosis codes, and being able to attach them to the appropriate billing codes and putting them in the appropriate sequences, and also modifiers. Modifiers are a huge part of medical billing, and I think it keeps getting more complex, to be honest with you, depending on your specialty. Again, that's always a little caveat, but I mean, with being able to show your MACRA and MIPS attestations at the payers and making sure that you're hitting certain qualifications for Medicare to bill certain codes and time frames, like sometimes in podiatry, if it's going to be a foot exam for like a diabetic, you have to have certain modifiers, and you also have to document a rendering provider's name and or MPI number and the date last seen. I mean, there's so many complexities that go into this, and if you have someone that doesn't know, you're going to be getting claims denied and have to go back and try to figure out why and then fix them and resubmit them, all the while you are not getting paid. A coder, especially one that knows what they're doing in your specialty, is so valuable because they are going to be the ones that are going to help you make sure that you're not over coding and going to get flagged at the payer and get in trouble, or maybe even get an audit to possibly get in trouble because you're billing too high or things that maybe you shouldn't be because they're a bundled service. Yes, bundled service. See, I mean, there's so many things. But they also can make sure that you're not missing out on anything too, that if you're having an extended length visit, that maybe you qualify for adding an additional CPT code to that E&M code so that you can get paid for that extra time you spent with that patient. They also will make sure that your documentation supports what you're trying to bill, to make sure that if you do get audited, which everybody does at some point, it doesn't mean that you necessarily did anything wrong, but you want to make sure that they don't find anything wrong either. A lot of times when you hire an outside or third-party billing service, you're hiring a billing service, not a billing and coding service. If they tell you that they don't do coding, it might not sound like a big deal because you're like, oh, I can add an E&M to the claim, and oh, I can put the diagnosis codes in. But there's so much more to that if you have never had to know, you wouldn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and I know I have said that in many videos before, but it's true. It's not supposed to be condescending. It's not supposed to be funny. It's true. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes the people who are on the sales side of these third-party billing companies don't understand enough either to be able to stress to you the importance of needing an in-house coder that will scrub your claims before they're submitted. We'll make sure that all of those numbers are matching and all of those things are accounted for when you send the claim. That's why a coder is so important. It's worth, in my opinion, paying somebody in-house to scrub your claims. Make sure that's all going well. Making sure that if there's anything kicked back from the clearinghouse or changes made at the payer level with requirements, that you have somebody who's staying on top of that and can make sure that everything is clean going out the door. Someone who has a very strong knowledge of your specialty and coding. And there are classes and schools that people go to for coding. And they often have to keep up their education, just like you do as a provider or a medical assistant has to every so many years. And that's really important too, because it is a very dynamic landscape. It's always changing. And having someone who likes to keep on top of that, that enjoys going to seminars, that enjoys going to conferences specific for coding and billing, to make sure that they are bringing back all of the latest and greatest to you, is really important. A medical biller takes what the coder puts together and submits the claim. If something gets rejected that they can't fix, they submit it to the coder to fix. And then after the insurance processes the claims, that's where the biller has the bulk of the work. They're going to be the ones that are going to be calling on denials and finding out why. They're the ones that are going to be sending statements to your patients. They're going to be the ones on the phone with your patients when they have questions about their accounts. They're going to be the ones that are staying in contact with the payers when it comes to any kind of weird adjudication or any kind of weird reimbursement that they're watching for when those claims come back. They're going to be the ones posting the payments in your system, so the EOBs or ERAs that are received as after the processing at the insurance of what was the allowable, what was paid, what goes to patient deductible. They're going to be the ones that have to be the eyes and ears if they start seeing weird trends or things not making sense. They're going to have to work hand in hand with a coder, but they both have their own respective roles that are both important. But the coder is the one that's going to be the first step in all of this, that making sure when you're submitting those claims, they're accurate, you're going to get coverage for everything and services that you've provided, and then they're going to work with the biller when there's any kind of weird things coming back from the payers. So that's the really big thing. The coder does the bulk of the stuff before the claim gets submitted to the insurance company, and the billers are going to do the bulk of the stuff on the back end after the insurance processes the claim. And then they kind of meet in the middle when there's things that kind of overlap that they have to figure out together, or they need to communicate to you about changes that need to be made with how you're using diagnosis codes or CPT codes or how you're seeing patients. I hope this makes sense. Please also check out my video of why a coder is important. I talk about that as well. Keep it in mind if and when you hire a third-party billing company. Make sure you find out if they do coding. If they say they do, ask them to the extent in which they do it, and what your responsibility as a provider, as a group, as a practice, what you guys will actually have to do in this whole revenue cycle. I also have many other videos about the revenue cycle, explaining the kind of the life of a claim and how it all starts at the front desk and why it's really important to train your front desk appropriately. So definitely check all of that out, because let's be real, the money is the lifeline of your business, and you need to make sure that you're doing everything correct to make sure that you can get all the money in that you deserve for the patients that you see and the services you render. If you have any comments or questions, leave that in the comments below. If you liked this video, smash that thumbs up button for me, subscribe to my channel, of course, and enjoy your day, stay healthy. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.